The British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Good morning, I'm Gabrielle Rui, and here are your news headlines for 3:30. In breaking news, Prime Minister Carney has just finished his White House meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump. He described meeting with Trump as constructive, but just a start. Carney said he felt better about his country's relations with the U.S. after the meeting, but he didn't see one meeting resolving the issues set off by Trump's tariff hikes. He also acknowledged uncomfortable body language with the president. In local news, the Canadian Armed Forces currently has a shortage of 14,500 members. Prime Minister Mark Carney looks to improve the military, including raises, more housing options, and access to health services and childcare. Our reporter Caroline Doyle explains concerns of currently serving members.
In 2023, former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau promised to increase military spending from 1.3% to 2% GDP by 2032. The military still falls short of personnel to take on new vessels and training requirements. In a 2023-2024 Defense Departmental report, D&D reported that only 57% of Canadian Armed Forces members felt positive about their jobs. It also reported only 30% feel the Canadian Forces provides a reasonable quality of life for them and their families. Carney has yet to release any official changes to military spending. Caroline Doyle, BCIT News.
Our reporter Caroline Doyle joins us now to give us more details about the matter. Caroline, what does this 2023 to 2024 report say about increasing personnel in the forces?
Well, they say that they're going to use strategic recruiting and retention plans, and that their collective mission is to regrow the regular force from currently 68,000 up to 71,500, and the reserve force from 27,000 up to 30,000. So they said some of those strategies would be complaints and grievance processes, making those quicker, supportive services, and just generally strengthening the trust and confidence in the military justice system.
And can you elaborate on the quality of life with geographical stability and other concerns that military members have?
Yeah, so actually, Ombudsman Gregory Alick, he released an article in 2023 that said that the Canadian Armed Forces actually wants to reduce the impact of postings, which happens sometimes every 3 years, which means that moves families here and there. They want to lessen that impact, and with the cost of housing and everything, it seems like it's going to be a hard thing to defeat, especially somewhere like Vancouver where housing costs are so high. So potentially Prime Minister Mark Carney's intention to increase pay for military members might support that quality of life.
Thank you so much for your responses, Caroline. They've really given us a deeper understanding of the matter.
Thank you.
A public hearing called by the Office of the Police Complaint Commissioner is currently being held over sexual harassment claims made against a Vancouver officer. Canadian press are currently monitoring updates to the story. In provincial news, Washington State Lieutenant Governor Denny Heck is visiting Victoria as part of a delegation from his state to discuss mutual concerns with BC, such as the Columbia River Treaty. The Trump administration paused negotiations, but Heck says he's optimistic a final agreement is possible.
And here's why I'm optimistic. Because the Washington State congressional delegation is bipartisan, and the treaty, in principle, enjoys bipartisan support.
Heck acknowledges fewer British Columbians are visiting Washington State, but hopes the numbers will return to normal after the number of vehicle crossings dropped by 50% in this year compared to last year. To improve public safety in case of an emergency, a test of the BC Emergency Alert System will occur at 1:55 p.m. Pacific Time on Wednesday, May 7, as part of Emergency Preparedness Week. The test alert will be sent to all compatible cell phones and will interrupt radio and TV broadcasts. This test will assess the system's readiness for an actual emergency and identify any required adjustments. First West Credit Union has announced a donation of $100,000 to Food Banks BC. In a news release, the company stated it is reinforcing its commitment to addressing food insecurity across BC. CEO Lonnie Skinner stressed the company's responsibility to help others. She mentioned that as a leader of their space, it is their duty to encourage other organizations to find ways to alleviate hunger in the province.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikka-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikka-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Rural BC communities will soon have access to 15,000 new water meters. Minister of State Brittany Anderson said that rural communities face higher financial problems, and water metering will help communities identify leaks and keep costs down. This will also lower costs for people who use less water. Provincial funding is expected to cover up to 100% of eligible costs. Once installed, the meters can help reduce water use by 30%. Moving on to national news, hundreds of Toronto residents gathered in the city's Trinity Bellwoods Park Sunday for a group scream to let out all of their heartbreak, anger, and frustration. Musician Grace Turner came up with the idea after experiencing a breakup 5 months ago. Alexis Bergas explains why she was one of the participants.
So many more tasks being added on. I don't get paid enough. I can't afford to live. I'm never going to own a house. There's just so many factors, even with stuff in the U.S.
Yeah, the state of the world.
Yeah, state of the world in general. Yeah, it's enough reason to scream, yeah.
Participants described it as cathartic and a state of euphoria. For the second time in less than 6 months, Canada Post workers could walk off the job. Existing deals between the Crown Corporation and the union expire on May 22nd, with several issues still outstanding, including wages. Canadian Press business reporter Chris Reynolds says Canada Post delivers over 1 million parcels a day.
So while those parcels only make up, between 25% and 30% of the parcel shipping market in Canada, it's still a huge gap for the private sector to plug. And if an extended strike were to occur again, it would be yet another big disruption in the world of shipping and trade.
Experts note that Canada Post's dire financial situation means it may struggle to meet workers halfway on their contract demands. In international news, as the conclave happens, 4 Canadian cardinals gather in the Vatican. Our reporter Jonah Jung has more on what the cardinals will bring up at the conclave.
As Pope Francis rests in peace, the Vatican holds the conclave to elect its new pope. Matthew Furtado, a communications director of the Archdiocese of Vancouver, says the cardinals will put its efforts into making the Catholic community more active and engaging.
Maybe we would say cultural Catholics in Canada whose
they maybe go to church on Christmas and Easter. They have a cultural understanding of what Catholicism is, but the church maybe needs to respond better to them of how to actually engage them in faith.
Furtado also says the Catholic Church will put its efforts into reconciling with the people that are hurt with pastoring and healing. Jonah Jung, BCIT News.
Our reporter Jonah Jung joins us now to give us more details on the story. Jonah, what was so special about Pope Francis?
Yes, thank you, Gabby. So right now the conclave is happening in Vatican as we speak, and what's special about this conclave is that a lot of cardinals from various cultural and racial backgrounds are all joining after being appointed by the late Pope Francis. And at the same time, the Archbishop in Vatican says this conclave will be very special, considering the fact that the cardinals are all not well known to one another.
And will there be a Canadian Pope?
So according to Matthew Furtado, who is the communications director at the Archdiocese Vancouver, he says that it is unlikely for there to be a Canadian Pope, even though there are 4 cardinals who are present at the conclave right now. But at the same time, the Catholics in Vancouver and also in other regions across Canada are showing support and praying that the Holy Spirit will reside with them as the conclave goes on.
Thank you so much for your responses, Jonah. They've really given us a great insight on the matter. Speaking with reporters during a meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney, U.S. President Donald Trump says he takes the Houthis at their word and he will stop U.S. strikes.
They were knocking out a lot of ships going, as you know, sailing beautifully down the various seas. It wasn't just the canal, it was a lot of other places. And I will accept their word, and we are going to stop the bombing of the Houthis.
Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports a long, stressful day for Germany as their elections end with a new chancellor.
Friedrich Merz has succeeded in his bid to become the next German Chancellor during a second vote in Parliament, hours after he suffered a historic defeat in the first round. Christian Democratic Union lawmaker Julia Klöckner is greeted by widespread applause as she reviews documents during an announcement after the vote. Merz had been expected to smoothly win to become Germany's 10th Chancellor since World War II. No other post-war candidate for Chancellor has failed to win on the first ballot. Because the votes were secret ballots, it was not immediately clear and might never be known who had defected from the Merz de Ledesma.
Moving on to today's weather, it'll be partly cloudy until 4 p.m. Then the clouds will start to close in and give us some overcast skies well into the evening. The highest temperature would be 18 degrees, peaking between 2 to 4 p.m., while the lowest would be 14 degrees, starting at 11 p.m. And those were your news headlines for 3:30. I'm Gabrielle Rui, and you're listening to BCIT News.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the lower mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Good afternoon, I'm Jenny Sung, and these are your 3:45 sport updates. Round 2 kicks off for the Edmonton Oilers tonight as they face off against the Vegas Golden Knights in Sin City. Puck drop is at 6:30, and earlier, Oilers' Ryan Nugent-Hopkins talks about the matchup tonight.
And keep things simple. I mean, it's cliche, but it does work, and just wear them down as much as we can, and then just try to play in the O-zone. I mean, obviously that's where we're going to create a lot of our looks. They're pretty good off the rush defending, so we know that it's gonna be a grind, but we look forward to it.
From a matchup. And then the Washington Capitals and the Carolina Hurricane face off tonight at 7 at home for the Capitals for Game 1 of Round 2 in the playoffs. The Toronto Maple Leafs goalie Anthony Stolarz took a hard hit to the head during Game 1 of Round 2. The Leafs head coach Craig Berube says Stolarz has not been ruled out for Game 2 of Toronto's second-round playoff series against the Florida Panthers. Panthers' Sam Bennett, a former teammate and won the Cup last year with Stolarz, also spoke about the hit.
I heard that he went to the hospital last night, and Stoley's a good friend of mine. I reached out to him. He responded, and obviously never want to see an injury like that.
Game 2 of the second round is this Thursday at 4, home to the Leafs. The NHL's top rookie honor, the Calder Memorial Trophy, will be going to one of these 3 top players. Macklin Celebrini on the Sharks, Lane Hutson on the Montreal Canadiens, and goalie Dustin Wolf on the Calgary Flames, who will be taking home the Calder Trophy this year. One of 3 finalists, Wolf from the Flames, talks about the season and being a finalist amongst the other rookies.
I just wanted to help our team to the best of my ability, like I always say, and our group was tremendous in front of me all year long, and I think we deserved a little better fate at the end of the season, but at the end of the day, we succeeded expectations, and to be nominated for the Calder is pretty cool honor.
Team Canada beat Hungary today 6-0 in a tune-up match before the World Hockey Championships. NHL's Rookie of the Year finalist rookie sensation Macklin Celebrini had a goal and 3 assists. Team Canada welcomed Sidney Crosby, Marc-Andre Fleury, and Nathan McKinnon to the roster, and fans are calling the trio the Dream Team, hoping Canada brings home a gold medal. And 4 of 5 Vancouver Canucks are heading to the World Championships. Marcus Pettersson will be representing Sweden, Filip Hronek for Czech Republic, and both Connor Garland and Drew O'Connor are representing Team USA. The World Championships start this Friday, and Canada will play against Slovenia this Saturday in Sweden. Today's UEFA semi-finals was a close game, 4-3, with the Inter Milan winning by 1 point. Inter will be advancing to the finals after today's matchup against FC Barcelona. Inter will face either Arsenal or Paris Saint-Germain in the finals. There will not be a Triple Crown winner for the 7th consecutive year. Sauron T is this year's Kentucky Derby champion, won't be racing in the Preakness Stakes, which is the second leg of the Triple Crown. Trainer Bill Mott speaks about the win.
This one got there the right way. I mean, he's done well. He's a great horse. He comes from a great organization, and I can't say enough about the horse and the organization that started him out and did everything to make this happen.
The dreams of a Triple Crown sweep end early this year. Summer is here, and that means baseball season. The Toronto Blue Jays are playing the LA Angels today at 6:38 this evening. Jose Urnia is on the mound for the Jays, looking for his first win of the season as he'll face off against Angels ace Tyler Anderson. The Seattle Mariners and the Athletics meet today at 7:05 with Emerson Hancock on the mound for the M's, and on the other side, Jeffrey Springs is set to take the mound for the A's. As for the hardwood, the Golden State Warriors face off against Minnesota Timberwolves tonight. The Warriors are fresh out of a Game 7 win against Houston. Tip-off is tonight at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time. Those are your sport updates for this afternoon. I'm Jenny Sung, and you're listening to BCIT's The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.